I'm joined by Jessica Seddon from the Yale University. Welcome to Doordarshan, ma'am. Firstly, I would like to ask you what are some of the key takeaways or insights from this G20 sideline event?
I think the first takeaway is that it's happening in a way that demonstrates that in this time of enormous environmental, technological, and social change, that India is digging deep, doing consultations, and looking very creatively about how to build the capabilities for the 21st century. So I think that's the broad takeaway. The second takeaway is just the level of participation from across within sectors, India, globally, in coming together to develop this agenda.
Okay, so what are the key priorities for the G20 member states to accelerate the efforts of growth in terms of green and sustainable economy?
Well, if the main point is to accelerate the efforts of growth, we have to look at the context in which this growth is happening, the societal as well as the environmental side. So I'd say growth first, but most importantly, being able to do so in a way that reduces the carbon as well as addresses some of the environmental pressures that are happening. That is the biggest challenge, is a new growth model for new pressures, quickly and inclusively.
Okay. What role do you think that the global north could play in terms of more sustainable economy, in terms of green economy, with respect to global south?
So I think the global north has to recognize, in some ways, its contribution to the point that we are at right now. One of the major roles in which the global north can contribute is obvious. It's in finance, not just the quantum of finance, but also leveraging some of the institutions that have been historically situated and in some ways governed in large part by the global north in a way that takes the risks, extends the capital, builds the capacity to address this change across the world, including the global south.
Right. This is regarding climate change, and the United Nations Secretary General have recently said that the era of climate change has come to an end. It is now an era of the climate is boiling. It has come to a point. How do you look at climate change, and what impact do you think is the climate change all over the world?
That's an excellent question. I think the impact of climate change has two variables. The first is the biological, chemical, physical, environmental change. The second is how we as a species, we as a group of nations organize ourselves and how flexible we can be in responding to these changes. I think the environmental side of it is what it is. The social side of it, how we rise to the challenge institutionally in terms of governance, that's what we need to focus on.
Okay, and what role would green economy play in terms of curbing climate change?
I think the reality is if it's not a green economy, there will not be an economy that we are happy with that can provide for increasing standards of living. So it's not what role, it's more how do we get there? How do we shift the way that we've organized our economies, our markets, our flows of finance, our use of technology, to ensure that there still is an economy that serves people and their welfare.